it out. My name is Celeste. I'm a therapist from Boston. And I get to come on this podcast because I get to talk to some amazing people who are doing things to empower the lives of others by sharing their story. And the really dope thing about hearing someone's story is that you start to recognize you're not alone, which is why storytelling can be so powerful. So I'm going to introduce my guest and bring her onto the stream so we can have a conversation. Hello, hello. Can you introduce yourself to my people?
Yes, hello. So my name is Joy, and thank you, Celeste, for having me on your podcast. Definitely a pleasure. I am a narcissist abuse coach. I have been dealing with narcissists for quite some time, and yeah, I'm here.
Thank you so much. I'm excited. One thing about people who are in relation, what I've learned over the years, I've never had any personal experience, but I know people who are in these type of relationships a lot of times don't even know that it's happening. Is that pretty accurate from your experience?
Yeah, I know a lot of my clients, they reach out to me and they ask me, they're like, is this person a narcissist? Like, can you let me know? Like, what do you think? Like, they'll tell me the situation, this scenario, and I can kind of, let see what they're saying and then kind of go from there and let them know if they're dealing with a narcissist. 9 times out of 10, they most likely are, because if they have to question it, you know what I mean? They most likely are. So,
By the time people start questioning, to usually they kind of know by that point. Okay.
yeah.
Now, let's kind of start off a little so my audience could get to know you a little bit, and then I want to like learn about like what you're doing because you are a coach and do have services. But tell people a little bit about your upbringing. Were you raised in a home where there was a narcissistic caregiver?
Narcissist, yeah.
Narcissist caregiver?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's funny because I'm a native of Delaware. My mom and my dad, they were not narcissists, not that I could recall. But when I was 17 years old, I moved to California due to a tragedy that ended up happening in my immediate family. So I was sent to California to live with my aunt. And I lived with my aunt for 5 years. I stayed in California for 11 years, but out of those 5 years, I stayed with my aunt. And living with her, I didn't know she was a narcissist. I had been doing my research because while living with her, I did meet a guy online through Twitter. And after going no contact with him, I found that he was actually a narcissist. And then once I went no
Sorry,
contact
when
with
you
my
say
aunt,
what do you mean no contact? What does that mean?
no contact basically means I'm not in contact with them, like,
Oh,
ever
okay, okay,
again.
okay.
Yeah.
So once you were talking to him, but once you stopped talking to him is when you recognized like, so was that your first engagement with somebody? Um,
Yeah, I would say my aunt, the guy that I was dating, and then there was another guy that I kind of ran across while at work while working. He was actually not necessarily a narcissist, but he was a cluster B borderline. They're similar to narcissists. The only thing is they fear abandonment. Like, they want to abandon you before you can abandon them.
mhm,
And borderlines, they harm themselves. So
mhm.
yeah, it's still kind of within the personality disorder, but it's not to the extent of a narcissist. So
Okay, so maybe your aunt, then a couple of relationships. Were
yes.
they long-term relationships?
So I lived with my aunt for 5 years,
Yeah.
and the guy that I met online, I dated him off and on for 4 years. And the borderline, like I mentioned, I met him at work. That was for 4 months, thank goodness.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was quite some time. So
How did you get your awakening and aha moment to recognizing, the type of relationship you was in? What was that like for you, that moment where you realized it?
um, I realized, I guess, in regards to my aunt, I just felt like I didn't fit in, I guess. I didn't feel like it was family, and I always felt like I was never good enough. I could never do anything right. And subconsciously, I didn't know that I was actually doing this, but I was actually trying to move away from her. I didn't realize that I was doing that at the time. But it was just really like how she made me feel, and then I just realized that I had to stay away from her because I realized the longer I kept in contact and I kept engaging with her, she was just making me feel worthless. And I had low self-esteem. I wasn't confident about myself. And I just felt like my life had no meaning. Now with the male narc that I dealt with, I guess I realized like I wasn't getting anything out of it. Like I wasn't happy. Nothing was progressing within our relationship. He was just kind of doing whatever he wanted. He would contact me whenever it was best for him. We didn't go out anywhere. And I was just like, is this a relationship? Is this what it's supposed to be like? And something deep down inside of me was just like, no, like this is not it, And so that was kind of like what made me question, like, okay, do I need to like keep these people in my life, or do I need to like stay away from them? So that was kind of the turning point for me.
Trying to, when you say keep people in your life, I'm sure that's part of why people like struggle with when you like 4 years, 5 years, 4 months, like all that time accumulated. Your system is kind of used to being in an environment like that, where you're not valued. Talk to people a little bit about that kind of period where you had to like make a intentional decision to separate, and how that felt for you, because I know it couldn't have been easy.
No, it was actually pretty heartbreaking. I was really sad that I had to like go no contact with the male narc in my life, and even my aunt to a certain degree, because her and I, we grew, well, she kind of took care of me in a sense. And I remembered I used to go to the little gatherings and occasions and events, and she'd like be there cooking dinner, and I'd be helping her make Christmas cookies. So, it was like I grew up with her, and then for her to kind of turn around and treat me that way, I was just like, did I do something wrong? Like, did I deserve that? And I had to come to the realization, in order for me to be happy, in order to have some peace, that I had to go no contact with her. I had to let her go. And it was painful, because I felt like she didn't care about me. And I'm thinking like, wait, I thought this was my family. I thought this was supposed to be my support system. Like, what's going on here? And so that was pretty hurtful. I felt like abandoned. I felt rejected. I felt like I didn't belong. And I don't know. I was just like, I felt unwanted, And even with the male narc, he was the guy that I was like, it's kind of sad to say, but I fell in love with him. He was like my first love. And it's like, I felt like I wasted my love on him, because he didn't love me at all, And so I kind of had to mourn my hopes and my dreams with him. And that was devastating for me, very devastating. And yeah.
I talk to people a lot about like, because when you're mourning, that means you're accepting what has happened so that you can reconcile and like move on in a direction that works for you, that's going to provide you with peace and comfort. Where did you get that terminology from, or how, that mourning? Because I rarely hear people talk that way.
Oh, I've read a lot of books about like self-help, personal development, and a lot of books were called like You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hayes, Live Your Dreams by Les Brown, The Seed of the Soul, The Power of Now, A New Earth, like so many books that I read. And I realized, like, in order to be able to heal and not only forgive yourself and forgive the other person, you have to kind of accept, like you said, what happened and mourn. Like, you have to feel those feelings. And because if you don't, you're going to feel it anyway, but it's going to be in a way where it's uncomfortable. But you might as well do it now, before it gets worse. But yeah, I learned a lot about like grieving, especially like if, well, God forbid, but I actually lost my brother when I was 17. That was the reason why I left from Delaware to move to California. And I realized like I was mourning him. I was going through a grieving process, right? And so I had to sit with myself, not just with the experience of dealing with my brother, but just also, grieving the narcissist and, my aunt at the time when I was in contact with her. I just had to just accept it and just move on. And it was so hurtful though. But I'm grateful for the experience, because it kind of led me to who I am now. So.
And then what kind of things helped you with that, the lonely period that you kind of went through as you're transitioning into just kind of like living out who you're supposed to be and not like, because with narcissists, they have a way of making you feel not enough or not worthy. So what did you do for yourself? It sounds like reading was a big part of it, a lot of self-help books. Anything else that was like part of this journey for you?
Yeah, and thank God, I had some really, really, really good friends, dearly to my heart, even still to this day, that were very understanding, very supportive, and very caring. I did actually reach out to someone. I guess she was kind of like a counselor, but she didn't really understand narcissistic abuse. But I was still able to kind of talk things out. But I just felt like she was more so judging me, but it was good that I did get the time to talk to someone, and that was for like a year. So that helped. Spending time by myself, like I said, grieving, mourning, even mourning like my inner child. Like because I realized like what I was going through wasn't just the narcissist and what the narcissist did, right? Or even what I allowed, you know what I mean? But it was also stuff coming from my inner child, like mourning, the child or the 5-year-old or the 6-year-old that never felt good enough, that never felt seen or heard. That was kind of hurting too. And I was just kind of just sitting with my inner child and just like allowing myself to cry or scream or whatever I needed to do,
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing was yoga, a really good thing that helped me. I think it saved my life too, because
Wow.
sometimes when you go through a loss or an experience that's traumatic, you just want to stay in the house all day and you don't want to do anything. You don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to eat. You don't want to shower. And so when I was able to kind of do yoga, and thank God I was able to do, it was a outside free yoga at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that like every day, and that was just my way of getting out, seeing people, and just living my life slowly but surely, because I almost felt like I was in a trance. Like I felt like I was a robot, like, because I was just so codependent on a narcissist, and going through the cognitive dissonance that I experienced and the trauma bonding. And that it was a lot to deal with. And really learning to forgive myself. I was so angry with myself. I was so angry. I was like, how could I allow myself to go through this? And or how didn't I have known sooner? Or why didn't I say anything? Why did I allow myself to be mistreated? I was angry, but I was like, oh, I didn't know. No one taught me these skills. You know what I mean? So how am I,
Very, and
you
those are
know?
very typical like things that people do to themselves. But if you like think about your really good friend that kind of helped you through this,
Yes.
if your friend said to themselves like, "Why did I do this? Why did I allow this? I mean, why did I let this happen?" You wouldn't you wouldn't be like, I know that's you really shouldn't have done that. You would have never responded that way. You would respond with grace. And I think for people that are listening to this that really feel this way, whether we're talking about narcissism or anything else, give yourself grace around what you didn't know. And as Joy just shared, I think that even though you didn't, I mean, I know by the time you were 17 is when you experienced like that first kind of relationship, but just like feeling like a lot of things could happen as a child where we may not feel enough or whatever, right? Our different experiences added together can create this kind of internal dialogue that may not have anything to do with our direct caregivers. But then, you were already in that space. So being in a relationship that emulated the way you talk to yourself just kind of made sense for your system, right? Like, is that
Yeah.
something that you think about as far as like when you do think about like engaging with that person? A lot of it was because of how you engaged with yourself.
Yeah, like, how I engage with myself, what I guess what I experienced when I was like maybe in middle school and high school, maybe people like, teasing me or making
Hmm.
fun of me or whatever. And
Hmm.
I just felt like I believed like what they said. Of course, they were kids,
Right, right, right.
but I took that on, I internalized that, and it's like, I shouldn't have. But I think too, though, after my brother died, which was very traumatic, and even like still today, but I took that with me. I didn't really process that, I don't think.
Okay.
But like because I didn't know that my aunt was a narcissist, I felt like I was a magnet for like a relationship, like for another narcissist, you know. So I think that probably had a lot to do with it as well. And I think you kind of mentioned, but it was like because of the abuse, the emotional abuse that I experienced with my aunt, it was like if someone else did that, if it was somebody that I was dating, it didn't feel like it was abuse just because I was surrounded by it. You know what I mean? It felt like it was home, so it was normal, you know. So I think that had a lot to do with it as well. And also for the amount of time that I stayed, because I think I was so mad because I like stayed for so long. I feel like I wasted my time. But I feel like it was everything happens for a reason. I feel like so.
Is that part of the narrative that you should tell yourself to help when that thought would come?
Yeah.
It's like, you know what, I'm here now. And speaking of being here now, what motivated you to not just heal, but turn everything that you've learned and known into a coaching service and into your LLC? Like, what was that process like of like becoming an entrepreneur in that area?
Yeah, it was actually pretty like different, I guess you would say. Like I just remember I thought I was healed. I thought I was okay, I would say, because went no contact with the male narc back in 2014. I went no contact with my aunt in 2015. And then I met the borderline in 2016, right? And I had those 4 months that I was dealing with him. And then I was like, oh, it's not the right person. But I remember I was just still so like angry. I was like, I was hurt. I didn't know who to turn to. I felt like people were out to get me. Although, like I said, I had my friends and they were cool, only a handful, because I'm realizing like how sensitive I am, and like sensitive people can't be around too many people at one time.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I just remember just wanting to speak my message and wanting to talk to people about what I went through. But I was so ashamed. I was so ashamed. I was fearful of what people were going to think of me. I would think like, man, people are going to think I'm stupid. Like, why didn't she leave sooner? What is wrong with her? You know? And you know what? I was just like, I can't think of like that. I have to just really think of maybe somebody else has gone through this, and maybe if they hear my story, then it can help them. And I know prior to me making the videos that I started making on YouTube, I had already had a YouTube channel. So I think this is where the fear was coming up, because I had already had like a fan base. I would say I had like 4,000 friends on my Facebook page, but my YouTube channel was still growing. And so I decided to make a video. One video was called The Narcissist, My Experience Dealing with a Narcissist. And then there was another video that I had talking about my experience dealing with my aunt. But there was one video in particular called The Narcissist Has a New Girlfriend or New Supply. That video actually went viral. I think it had like 10,000 views within like a 2-week period. And it had like 60 something comments where people were like, oh my gosh, Joy, I'm so happy you shared your experience. It really touched me. It really helped me. You know, I'm leaving a narcissist because of seeing this video. Thank you so much. And I was just like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. And as I started making videos, I was like, well, maybe I can actually like kind of coach people, because I felt like, you know, I'm not going back, whether it was with, you know, being in contact with my aunt or the male narc or even the borderline. I was like, there's nothing for us to discuss. You know what I mean? And so I was just like, okay, I can like coach someone into moving on and letting go of a toxic, negative narcissist in their life, whether it's a friend, it's a family member, or a romantic partner, or even a boss or something like that. And so that's kind of how I made that transition. So.
Wow, that's amazing. On just kind of putting yourself out there. I think like the kind of work that people end up doing, especially in the healing world, a lot of times it's due to like what they went through and like how they were able to handle and deal with some things. So it's pretty nice to see someone make this transition. Now, what does it look like when people work with you? First, I actually want you to just kind of define like what narcissist is, because I think sometimes people use it like carelessly at times.
Yeah.
So what that is, and then what does it look like when people do work with you?
Yeah. So basically a narcissist is a person that they have a personality disorder. So it's like how they're being and how they're showing up. It's very negative, it's toxic, it's unhealthy, and it damages, and it can exploit another person for that narcissist, that individual, for their own benefit, right? But how you can be able to see a narcissist from a distance, or maybe, well, the narcissists that I've experienced, they've all been covert. So it's like you're not going to be able to tell they're a narcissist right off the hand. Like you have to like be around them for a while, maybe a couple years or two, then you will kind of see that mask come off. But it's like if you have more of like an outgoing personality, you may not even know, because you would probably have already cut them off. So they kind of target like certain people. But a narcissist is someone, they have like a sense of entitlement with your life, and just anybody around them. They feel like they deserve everything, right? And we don't deserve anything. They blame you for a lot of things. They never take responsibility or accountability for their actions that they do to you, even though it's wrong. They know that it's wrong, but they still don't admit it. Right. They're very controlling. They're very manipulative, very cunning, very deceptive. Right. And they feel like a lot of people are beneath them. Like they feel like they're superior to everybody, just for their existence. Like there's no reason. It's just because they are breathing. Like, yeah, I'm superior. I'm better than you, and you deserve less than me. And so, yeah, like they have chronic feelings of emptiness. They feel bored a lot. A lot of the feelings that they feel is just fear and anxiety. And they always think that people are out to get them, which some people probably are because of the stuff that they do to people, right? So that's kind of what a narcissist is in a nutshell. So
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think everything that Joy just described are things that only that person can work through. And so I think, unfortunately, for people that are in these type of relationships, it's really hard because they tend to attract compassionate people that are very much empaths, and you operate out of potential, out of love, and think that you can change that person when that person, what everything that they're dealing with is an inside job. So like whether you're in a relationship, or there's some people listening to this right now that has friends or family members where they know like they're in this type of relationship, what do you think the best way like a friend or family member can support someone that is kind of in this situation? Because I know it could be challenging.
yes, it's very challenging. I would say just listen to them, because they're gonna have a lot of things that they're gonna talk about and go through. Be understanding, try not to judge them, help validate, what it is that they're saying, and encourage them to, let this person go or move out or become independent from this individual, and understand that it's not their fault,
Mhm.
um, help them to get real, like with the situation, because I do find like a lot of us victims and survivors, we try to like it's like we live in an illusion. We don't want to see what's in front of our face. So
Mhm.
if they need like a reality check, don't be afraid to give them that reality check. But don't impose yourself though. Like if they want advice or they are asking you for help, cool. But if not, just be a support. Just listen and see what they have to say, and just be there for them. So
Yeah, I love that a lot. And I think that it's easier when to see things when you're on the outside looking in, one, and also just thinking about the fact that if you've never experienced it, you have no idea what they're dealing with. And the thing with mental health is that you can't like see it with your own eyes. The person experiencing it can feel it and everything like that, but just because you can't see it or don't understand it, don't mean that they're not going through something. And I think for some people, they have a stronger will than others and are able to like some people are able to quit smoking cold turkey, right? And some people need a patch or need like time or whatever to like get through it. So
yeah.
everything happens on different times. During Everything is not a cookie cutter thing. So just kind of keep that in mind.
Definitely.
Now when people work with you, like what kind of, like, I'm struggling, and then, I were to sign up for your services, what does that look like for somebody that's looking to like get more support? Because one thing about what you do that I love is that you are specialized in this area, right? So somebody like me, like, I would, if that was like a theme, like I'm not well versed in that, and I just kind of like I always talk about AA, Alcoholic Anonymous, or people who have a sponsor, for or eating addictions, because that's what they do. They are engulfed in it, and for you, this is what you do. This is what you're engulfed in. So it makes it where people be like, "Yo, she gets it," because you're using your story as well to relate, which is why I like love talking to coaches. But tell me a little bit about like what your services look like for somebody that wanted to work with you.
Yes, absolutely. So I have many which ways an individual could work with me, or how my clients currently work with me. So I have a coaching program. I have two 90-day coaching programs. One is called Overcome Narcissistic Abuse, and another one is called Turn Your Pain into Power, where I basically work with my clients for a 90-day period. And we just work through whatever particular challenges or struggles or obstacles that they're currently experiencing after dealing with a narcissist. And I work with them for a 90-day period to help them to get that result, that change, that transformation, whatever it is that they're looking for. And I work with them one-on-one. I don't do it all for them. I'm like a guide, but I
Mm-hmm.
definitely do encourage them to, keep going. You're not alone, like you said earlier, and it's going to be okay, right?
Yeah.
And then I also have courses. I have many different video and audio courses where it's kind of do it yourself, because I understand like some people don't want that one-on-one help. Some people rather do it. They work better by themselves. So like self-study. So I have many different courses where I talk about how to overcome narcissistic abuse, how to move on, how to let them go, um, building better boundaries with individuals in their relationships, whether it's a narc or just, friend, family member, coworker, whatever. I also have another one called the Pathway to Emotional Healing After Dealing with Narcissistic Abuse. So I have that. And then I also have readings that I actually do. So the psychedelic aspect of, the healing, which, if the person has a question about, any area of their life, whether it's work, love, career, where I basically look at my cards and I just kind of see, what's going on, what's coming up, or, what I see in a particular situation. So.
And how long have you been doing that? That's something that I find. I mean, I see it more often advertised. But how long? How did you get into reading? And you must be very intuitive.
Yes, I am. I'm very intuitive. So this is like so funny. So in my journey of relationships, so I met this guy. I actually spent some time in Jamaica. Is a Jamaican guy, and I was just there. I think I was just kind of going on a journey of life, just trying to find myself back in, I think this was 2018.
Hmm.
And I remember I was like so in love with this guy, like so in love. And it was crazy because like he was a couple inches shorter than me. It was so
Oh
funny.
wow!
Yeah. So
No, we don't got
anyway,
nothing against short guys.
yeah. I mean, my boyfriend now is a lot taller now, but thank God.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, so I met him. I fell in love with him. He was just so sweet to me, so nice. But now I learned a lesson. Like, of course, guys are going to be that way in the beginning to get what they want, and then they
Hmm.
show you the real them after the fact.
Hmm.
But anyway, um, but yeah, like so. Long story short, I felt heartbroken because I found out that he was engaged. And he didn't tell me, and I actually found out that he got married while we were dating, and we were actually intimate while he was engaged. And I just felt so dirty. I felt like, what the heck? Like, but he wasn't a narc. He was just a toxic person. Probably just didn't know what he was doing, just young and whatever. So that happened, and I ended up calling him and asked him like, hey, so you're married? And he lied to me at first, but then he came out and said, yeah, I am married. But he was like, it doesn't mean anything. Like, I like you. And I'm like, okay. So basically I ended up cutting him off. But he didn't give me any explanation. Like, he didn't say why he did what he did. And I was like confused. I was like, why would he lie to me like that? I was like so nice to him, so sweet. I thought we had a good connection. And I just went on this journey of just trying to find answers, and I ran across some readings. And prior to this, I would say I had always had an interest in astrology since like 2014. So I've always been interested in zodiacs. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know, I just like started watching the readings, and I was like, I almost became addicted to it mm-hmm. in a sense. And so yeah, I bought some cards, and I was just kind of, messing around with them. And I don't know, you probably know the little cliche that they have, or the stereotype that like, oh, that's the devil's work and all that stuff. And mm-hmm. I actually had one friend of mine that I went to college with, and she was like, Joy, like, what are you doing? Like, this is like devil's work. And then I remember I was at this gig that I was working for, and the one girl, she was a roommate of mine. She was like, what are you doing? Like, if you can look at this on my phone, it says that this is the devil work, and look at this, what you're practicing. And I was just like, oh, whatever. But something inside of me, like, I don't know, I just felt like when I did the readings, or when I looked at the cards, I was just like, I feel like I can read it. I can like see things, and I don't know, I can like give advice in regards to like the cards that I'm looking at, And so I think, what was this? 2019, I started doing little readings on my YouTube channel. And it was cool. A lot of people, they were interested. Mm-hmm. And yeah, now I do readings as another service on how people can work with me. I do all kinds. I do twin flame readings, personal and private readings. I actually do a live collective read every Friday on my YouTube channel. And yeah, it's just it's a good space. I definitely don't use it in any negative way, which I know that's probably where it comes from, that stereotype where people are like, oh, it's the devil's work, so, but I don't do any of that stuff. I just use it for guidance, and I help people and give them assistance, or whatever it is that they're trying to figure out in regards to a challenge or a problem or obstacle they may be dealing with. I can look at it on the cards, and yeah, it's pretty accurate. And I thought, I was like, wow, like, that's really cool. I didn't know that I had that ability to do that. So
that's pretty cool. Yeah, I've met a few people like that. One of the things that you said about like how he's with the guy, but he's not a narcissist. I know that people that are empath. So sometimes I think people who are dealing with people in those kind of narcissist relationship. That's why y'all say narc. Let me start saying
yeah, you can say narc. And trust me, it's a lot easier.
It feels like the ops or something when you say narc. I'm like, is that the cops? I think that even though the other relationships aren't always like that, but I think there is some like things around boundaries that they probably struggle with, which is why one of your courses is about boundaries.
Yes.
Do you notice that with people that you work with, where they may struggle with some of their other relationships because of their lack of boundaries?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I feel like a lot of people just want to be accepted. They want to be liked, and they don't want to make people feel uncomfortable, but it's like they're putting other people's needs before their own. And it's like, wait a minute, like, you matter too. You're important, And so in that course, I talk a lot about, what it means to have better boundaries, why it's important, and how to put up better boundaries, the things that you need to say, the things that you need to do, and be assertive and be firm, and I feel like that's how you stand up for yourself, and you gain respect, and people will respect you because you're putting yourself first, not in a narcissistic way, or, oh, it's all about me, but it's like, hey, I need some space and some time to myself. I don't need to be saying yes to everybody and being a people pleaser all the time. I need to get centered inside of myself,
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's good.
yeah.
That's really good. And because you've lived through it, you are able to kind of know what people need and where the struggle and the language to use just to help people be seen, which is like what is needed. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Now, if somebody is struggling right now, what encouraging words would you say to the person that they may even know they're in that type of relationship? What kind of encouraging advice would you give to that person, like right now, that's listening?
Yeah, absolutely. Man, if they're dealing with narcissist abuse, or, they're having a hard time leaving or anything like that, like, I would say just make a plan to move if you have the ability to do so. You'd want to make an escape, right? Be safe about it, and don't tell the narcissist what you're doing, because they're gonna try to do anything, say anything to get you to stay,
Hmm.
right? And I mean literally anything.
Yeah.
And seek support. Don't be afraid to reach out for help, because I know a lot of people always tell me, like, Joy, like, I feel so embarrassed, like, I feel so weak. Am I a burden to you? Like, I've never had to do this. It's okay. If you don't seek support, then who else is going to do it? So you have to really, like, learn to take care of yourself, instead of, we've been kind of programmed to take care of the narcissist and take care of other people. But it's like, it's time to, like, kind of we got to, like, take care of self.
Hmm.
Right. And then, be patient, know that the healing process it's going to take some time. Be gentle with yourself. If you got to, like, hug yourself, love on yourself, do it. Forgive yourself, forgive the narcissist. And I'm not saying that means you have to go back, but you have to be able to forgive them, let it go, and just be okay with your life, with not having the narcissist in it. Right.
Hmm.
And write down your reason for leaving if you have to, right? So that way that you can kind of stay focused on leaving. Because I know some of the times we're like, oh yeah, I'm going to leave the narcissist one of these days, but then we get comfortable, or the narcissist is being nice to us again, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And we forget. But you want to write down why you're leaving, so that could keep you on that path to leaving, right? And why
Hmm.
you deserve better.
Yeah.
And don't expect sympathy from the narcissist. Don't expect them, because let's say you went no contact, and maybe you kind of a little deep down, because I was like this too, you kind of want them to reach out, you miss them just a little bit, but don't expect the narcissist to have sympathy. Don't expect closure from them. Don't expect an apology. You're not going to get it. And don't go backwards, go forward. So
I love it. And I love everything that you said. And, writing down that why is powerful. I talk about that a lot when people are on their process of just healing and overcoming some things. When it gets hard, I can look at, oh, yeah, I'm doing this because I want peace. I'm doing this because blah, blah, blah.
yeah,
And I think that, even if you've never been told like you deserve more, like you can work on being your biggest cheerleader. And I know, like, you luckily had like people in your corner. And for people listening to this who may not have somebody in their corner, like, understand, like, I get it, and I know, like, that support would be amazing. But if you don't have it, do not allow that to be a barrier to you going through this process, because you really do deserve more. um
absolutely. And if you don't have that kind of support, I would definitely say you can go online. There's a lot of, like, Facebook groups of other victims and survivors that have dealt with narcissistic abuse. YouTube, that really kind of helped me for sure. There's other, like, support groups on Google. So you're never alone. It may feel lonely, because I felt that way. But I guess the other thing I didn't mention is I had to get closer to God. I had to realize, I was like, okay, there's a God out there that wants me to overcome this. It just kind of came over me. And even when I was, like, by myself and crying and mourning and just grieving, just bawling like a baby, I was like, there's a higher power out there that wants me to be healed, whole, and happy again after going through this. So
I love it. And then also you can go to livenarcfree.com.
yes.
And she also has a YouTube channel with a plethora of information on there. And then you also do discovery calls as well, right?
Hmm.
Tell
Yes.
people about that and how they can sign up for that if they wanted to, like, check out your services.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm actually doing, like, a special this month. I do it from time to time, but sometimes it just depends, because I'm, like, pretty busy most of the time. But I'm doing free 30-minute support sessions this month, for those that are wanting support when it comes to dealing with narcissistic abuse. or just emotional things that's going on in your life. If you like to talk it out, I would love to hear from you guys. And you can visit my website at livenarcfree.com, or you can also email me at livenarcfree9@gmail.com. So.
Nice. And is there anything you have in the works coming up for Live Knock Free? I could just see it being like a whole community down the road of so many different things. You're definitely in your bag, and I can tell you're passionate about this.
Oh yeah. I guess it's just because like it was such a hurtful and a painful experience. I felt like I never like went through anything like this in my life, and I was just like, I remember like asking God, I was like, God, like, why did I have to suffer? Like, why did I have to feel so much hurt? You know, and I guess because I don't really, maybe I was sheltered growing up, but I felt like when I moved from Delaware to California, I felt like I was out in the real world. You know, it was just like being thrown to the wolves in a sense. And I was just like, okay, everybody's not so nice all the time, you know?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I actually have a new course that's coming out August the 24th called How to Break Patterns in Relationships, Preventing Narc Relationships in the Future. And I am like really excited about this because I have a lot of people that always reach out to me, and a lot of them have, and just like me, dealt with multiple narcissist relationships. And I felt like if I can come out with a course to talk about how to stop those patterns that we keep doing subconsciously or whether consciously, then maybe this can help some of us avoid that pain and that hurt, and we can kind of work on ourselves, but then we can attract a better relationship, and we can prevent narcissistic relationships, and we can even teach other people or maybe even our children, so that way they don't have to go through that kind of pain. So
That's dope. I love that a lot. I think that being proactive is important, especially when you notice patterns. I think a lot of times we'll be like, yeah, I know I'm this or that, but we never think about like, well, what can I do about it? And to have that course is going to really help a lot of people.
absolutely.
Thank you so much. This was amazing. You're amazing. Is there anything else that I left out that you wanted to share with the people?
um I think that's it. I'm just grateful that I was able to come on here. I hope that this message can help someone and bless someone. And as I said, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here for you guys. And yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yay, you're
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you.
You too.